The legislature is under court order known as the McCleary decision to complete its task of ending the over-reliance of local levies to fund basic education. So let's talk about the two proposals in the legislature to address this issue, starting with the Senate Republican proposal.
As you know, and as you mentioned, we now have two proposals on the table. We have the Senate Majority Caucus proposal, and we have the Democratic House proposal. And I think in all fairness, we know neither one of them will be the final document, but that somewhere in between will come something. Hopefully this session. I think we've kicked the can far enough down the road. We don't need to continue to do that. The Senate plan is interesting, and it establishes a $1.80 property tax levy to be collected statewide. This could be a benefit to some school districts and perhaps a detriment to others, because a lot of our school districts are levying in excess of $1.80. So depending upon what they want to do with a levy, and we know that there will be restrictions on what we can do with a levy, it'll be interesting to see how the general public accepts a $1.80 levy on property tax statewide. It's interesting, and of course it calls for a $12,500 per student appropriation. And that means that we will be leveling throughout the state. In other words, a student in Yakima or Natchez will get the same amount of money as a student in Mercer Island or Bellevue. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plan is accepted. Now, the Democrat House plan calls for massive tax increases. I believe the figure I read was $6 billion in increased tax revenues. I think that's over the board. And I don't think that's going to be our final ticket home, so to speak. So I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a sit down at some point, and how do we come up with a final budget for the McCleary decision. I think it's going to be a give and take situation. I think in all fairness that if both sides are working diligently and honestly and above board, we should be able to come out of here with a pretty decent education budget.
How can viewers get more information about these or other bills?
Well, I believe on the bottom of our screen it will give you contact information. And of course, we're always excited to hear from folks at home via email, via phone call, or by a hot message that we get on occasion too. And so there are a number of ways of getting a hold of us.